Collector car prices. A lot of headlines at the moment, particularly around the prices and how they're heading south. But what's the truth? What if it's actually a little bit more positive than people are saying? We've analysed over 300,000 transactions in the past couple of years. Here's everything you need to know about the market. Let's not beat around the bush. So the past few years for prices on cars like these, even more modern vehicles, has been pretty tricky. The highs of COVID in 2022, 2023 are way in the rearview mirror. Last year we saw prices fall by double digits. This year, what's happening? Well, when you look at the first 9 months of 2025, compared to the same period in 2024, at a headline level, the median value of a collector car is down 11%. And those falls, well, we're seeing them around the world. Europe, the US, UK, all in negative territory at headline level. Europe, for example, they've been on a bit of a tear recently. Last year, prices rose 18%. The first 9 months of 2025 versus the previous year, prices are back down 17%. They pretty much erased all of those gains that they made last year. Even in the US, where we've seen prices rise year after year after year. Last year, prices fell by double digits. This year, down 9% at headline level again. And even in England's green and pleasant land, it's not entirely pleasant. Prices fell 8% in the first 9 months of 2025 versus 2024. So we get it. Pretty much all the major markets at a headline level are down. The important question though is why? Let me explain. And to make it as digestible as possible, we're going to hone in on one market. We're going to focus in on the UK, because the story here is interesting to say the least. One of the reasons, which frankly has been probably the biggest factor over recent years, is too much supply. Too many cars coming to the market. Versus pre-COVID, we are now well over double the amount of cars coming to auction each year than we were back in 2019. All that supply only puts downward pressure on prices. If you've got 5 MGAs to choose from, or 3 years later you've got 15 to choose from at the market at one time, naturally that puts downward pressure on what these are worth. Supply is just one bit of the puzzle though. What is being supplied is also really important. Is it just that cheaper cars are coming to market, less desirable cars, and therefore even though the headline figures show a decline in prices, the intrinsic value of a car on a like-for-like basis in 2025 versus 2024, what if it hasn't declined as much as the headline figure says? We can test if that's coming true. This chart helps explain a few things. It looks at how the changing price of vehicles coming to market between 2025 and 2024 has evolved. You can see all the increase in the volume and supply of cars is on the left-hand side of this chart, the lower value vehicles, the vehicles sub £50,000. Above that point, the supply is constrained. We've seen those owners hold on to the cars and sit tight. That tells us cheaper cars, less desirable cars perhaps, are coming to auction, rather than it all being down to prices falling. And when you think about it, it makes sense. If you've got £1 million car and the market is down 10%, you're potentially taking a £100,000 bath on that car. For anyone, I don't care what your bank balance is, it's a pretty rough pill to swallow. Whereas if you've got a 10 grand car and the market's down 10%, you've lost £1,000. Again, not ideal, but you just cut your losses at that point. Write off the £1,000 and be on with your life. I think that's what we're seeing. The other data point we can look at is we can compare on a model for model basis. What's happened to the price in 2025 versus 2024 of the same model? Has that changed? We looked at the top 200 most popular models in the UK in our database, and something amazing happens. That big decline you see at a headline level actually flips. 53% of those 200 cars rose in value, 47% of them fell. The median price change was 4%. Okay, let me summarize that because there's a lot of numbers in there. The UK, headline level, prices are down 8%. Supply, it's up 13%. Too much supply in the market, bad thing. Made even worse by the fact those cars that are being supplied are lower value vehicles. That is making the artificial headline even worse than it needs to be. What happens if you look at a like-for-like basis, model versus model? Prices are actually up 4%. It's not as bad as you think. quick little interlude. We talked about how many cars are coming to the market. That means more auctions for you guys to track than ever before. What if we could save you all that time and we'll do all the tracking for you? What if you could tell us what cars you own, tell us what cars you're interested in. Anytime one sells, comes up for sale, we'll let you know. Maybe our app DRIVVE is the one for you. See all the auctions all in one place for free. Give it a try. Now, one moment on classic cars. They're actually performing, surprisingly, better than the collector car market as a whole. If you look on almost every single metric that we track, classicals are outperforming their modern contemporary cars. I put a chart up now showing globally, UK, US, Europe, how they're performing. This chart is also very interesting. This is one of our favourite charts. It shows by decade of when each vehicle was produced, what's happened to the price of vehicles from the 20s through to the 2010s between 2025 and 2024. There's only 2 decades that have seen prices rise. 1920s and 1930s. Given all the rhetoric you hear about pre-war cars, we've been saying this for a little while now. It looks like they are steadying and even having a little bounce back. When iconic cars are trading at pennies on the dollar, eventually, even for a younger enthusiast, they become a no regrets buy. So in conclusion, are prices still declining at headline level? Yes. Do we continue to see more cars come to market than ever before? Yes. Is that supply increase putting downward pressure on prices? Yes. But if we really dig into it on a like-for-like basis, are values actually declining? No. It looks like we might just be bottoming out. See you next time.